Thank you for joining us. Today we're joined with Michelle Spaul, a customer experience consultant at Delta Swan. Thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are, and your path to being a CX consultant?
Thanks, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a CX consultant, and that means that's my focus, but my background is much more varied. I worked through quality and, in particular, customer satisfaction to work in process management, change management, and eventually with 2 or 3 different customer experience teams. And to be honest with you, that's what I love doing. I love making things work, but I love helping people help their customer. So becoming a customer experience consultant, well, that was just a no-brainer for me.
That makes total sense. You found what you loved and you dove into it. I'm sure you've worked with tons of people who are managing customer experience at their companies. What advice would you give somebody on the first 100 days of taking one of those leader roles?
Oh, it's such a good question. It's such a common question. My approach to customer experience and to change is people-centered. So I would say the most important thing is to balance that desire to make an impression, that desire to kind of like make your name, with the need to acknowledge and support colleagues and your team. So I would say there are 2 number 1 priorities to do. One of those is to get to know stakeholders, actually understand their goals and perspectives, what gets them out of bed in the morning, understand what they're already doing in respect to customer experience management, and understand how they feel about any changes that you might want to make in their capabilities. I think it's really important to remember that customer experience doesn't customer experience or customer experience management. Excuse me. I think the second of the 2, very important, is actually understand what is happening in the business, understand what works well, and understand where there are gaps and barriers to robust customer experience management. With those 2 things, you're going to have people by your side and a bit of a gap. You can start then building a strategy with your stakeholders, and then in parallel, I'd grab something to do, something that's going to make an impact on the business, something that's going to make your stakeholders smile. So think about the levers of growth, what's important in the business and where the opportunities lie. You might want to reduce calls to customer support, or you might want to increase retention. And then see a project through from the beginning to the end. And by the end, I mean realizing benefits and shouting about them from the rooftops. Acknowledge the people you've worked with to make this happen, and really point to customer experience management as a way of ensuring the ongoing sustainable growth of the business. That probably won't take you the full 100 days, but it'll be pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have a great foundation to build upon for the rest of your career there. That goes right in nicely to my next question. What do you currently have as your main strategies now and in the future for customer experience?
It very much depends on where my clients are and where they want to be. I have clients where I'm very happy to work on a tactical basis and solve an existing problem, like the project I just mentioned, because they as a business aren't yet ready to dive into a full customer centricity. But then I have other clients who absolutely want to nail their North Star, have a culture that thinks customer. I do tend to encourage people, though, to balance business, customer and employee. So I would say, where does my strategy focus? That's client-led. I'd be the worst customer experience consultant in the world if it was anything other than client-led. But I always say focus on getting that balance right.
Absolutely. The employees can have a big impact on your customer's experience, right? Happy employees are going to provide a better experience. I think doing a lot of EX and CX at the same time is always a great idea. With that, yeah, continue.
Oh, I was going to say absolutely, Ben. And I would say it goes a little bit further than just EX into employee engagement and listening to employees and how they feel the customers are thinking. And what they feel customers need. I mean, nobody can know the ins and outs of every business. It's employees who tell us what's working and not working.
Absolutely. And you want to have them have the trust in you and that you're listening, right? And a lot of those employee
Yeah.
engagement programs can evaluate that. When you're doing these types of programs and you're facilitating a relationship with one of your clients, how do you measure success?
Well, if it's a company who just want to fix a pain point, we'll measure it with reviews, number of calls. We might get more sophisticated and look at cost reduction. I think often when we're resolving a customer experience problem, there's a big cost reduction to be had, which a lot of people just forget about. And I like to make sure that we drive through to getting that cost reduction. On the other hand, of course, retention of customers is big. I do, of course, use customer experience perception metrics, NPS, CSAT, CES, but I think they often feel, is it woolly? I think I'm looking for the word woolly. They often feel woolly to people. There's a bit of a so what? If my NPS goes up 10 points, what does that mean? We can all see and sell cost improvement or a retention of customer.
So it sounds like that might be one of your pain points, right? Establishing the return on an investment of a customer experience program. Am I right on hearing you out? Is that a pain point? And do you have any other pain points when it comes to doing customer experience?
Well, it's not a pain point because I'm good at it, but it's definitely something that's important. I think the I think the biggest pain point is often the perception people have that customer experience doesn't need to be managed or doesn't need to be
Mhm.
intentionally managed. When we're not told, we go to business school, we take a degree in business management, we found a company who's supported by an accelerator, and I've looked at a lot of agendas, and customer experience is rarely on them.
Mhm.
And when it is, it's often very, very narrow. So I would say the biggest pain point is when people believe that they can intuitively manage a customer experience, that when they do all of the other amazing things they do in a business, it will magically add up together to happy customers.
Mhm.
And breaking that cycle of is very, very difficult. Some companies do that with a forward thinking point of view. They've heard about customer experience management, they've seen it in real life, or I worked at a business where we were really struggling to get traction, and then the president had a bad experience, and on the Monday he came in and he said, we're doing this differently. So it can often take that kind of epiphany to help businesses see that they need customer experience management, and unfortunately that can often be too late. So I
Mhm.
would I would say the pain point is um, that yeah, that self-belief. Everybody's an above average driver. Everybody is above average at managing their customer experience.
Yeah, and that makes total sense, right? You're not going to be able to do anything if you don't get buy-in from the top and everybody on the same page. So, what do you do to get that buy-in from the C-suite?
Well, as a consultant, it may not be me who speaks with the C-suite, it may be the person who I'm engaged with, but nonetheless, we stop and we listen to what the C-suite wants. We understand their goals and we work out how customer experience can help them achieve that. We have, I believe we have to manage customer experience as a business discipline. And once we know what those goals are, we can start talking to people about how customer experience can achieve those goals, agree some targets, some KPIs, and then put in place some activities to directly improve customer experience. That might be a project that resolves a specific issue, but also projects to put in place customer experience management capabilities so that they don't need me going forward.
Exactly, you're setting them up for success. Do you have an example of using customer feedback in the real world and seeing a great return on it?
Well, I'm going to go back to my early days. My very first customer experience project was in a very early part of the 1990s, and I was asked to reduce the returns of a product for a major manufacturer. And I went out and talked to so many different people. I spoke to retailers, I spoke to consumers, I worked with the people who are handling the returns. I worked with the people who then analysed the returns, went back to the retailers, went back to consumers, and I developed I presented, but I'm not a big fan of managing from the biggest to the smallest. But I built a list of improvements, which I then drove through, which reduced our returns rate by over 80%.
Wow.
It saved us about 1.8 million a year. That's in 94 money, by the way. And most importantly, it repaired relationships with retailers. And I love that project. I absolutely love that project. I use so many different levers. After the project, people would come up to me and say, "Do you think customers will like this?" So it had that cultural change as well.
Oh, it's amazing. That's amazing. You really instilled it in the organization and you reap the benefits. I love that. That's great. On that note, what do you think is the future of customer experience? Where are we headed? Where are we going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I think customer experience has to learn to get the basics done well. And I think we're still establishing that. I think we're still quite new. My personal gateway into customer experience is voice of the customer. And what I see is our businesses who aren't listening to customers, aren't hearing their needs, aren't hearing their problems, but then go ahead and assume they know customers well enough to design a new product, service, or journey. So I think the future of CX is to a large extent getting back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need. What I love about customer experience is that we've all got such different backgrounds. I'm from process management and improvement, change management, project management, and quality. That's why I started, and I started with customer satisfaction before those other skills, before customer experience. And I know many amazing people who've come from a customer services background or customer success background. And I think what we need still in customer experience is a little bit of a settling down of all those different voices so that we are more clear and more transparent on what we're saying and how we want to manage customer experience. So again, it's a little bit about back to base. I think most excitingly, we have the opportunity to use technology to analyze data in ways that we have never ever analyzed it before. And when I speak about reducing costs, what I really would love to do and love helping businesses do is take people off that non-value added activity of resetting passwords and resolving an address change to actually more customer understanding. It can be a customer experience tool, or it could be something like ethnographic observations, just really getting to know our customers and communicating about them. And I think in that way we can take CX out of the preserve of the customer experience team and make sure it is owned by everyone and everybody knows they own the whole.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. And I agree with the future. Like, I think it's going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be everywhere and everybody has to be on the same page. And hopefully the tools grow with what we do. So it's automated and really, really easy. That's great. Thank you so much. What else should we know about you?
Well, I love working with businesses of all sizes. I love working with businesses from all sectors. I also really enjoy prevention. It's one of my buzzwords. I mentioned that earlier. Avoid some of the pitfalls of customer experience your first 100 days by getting to know people. I think my focus is on meeting my clients' needs whilst encouraging them to go one step further. And if anybody wants to learn more about the different tools and techniques I use for that, they can find me at customerexperienceconsultant.co.uk or contact me through LinkedIn.
Perfect. And that's probably where we can follow your career and learn more about you, right? Are those your two avenues?
Yes, I mean, I have profiles in various places. I think we all do these days. But I would say if you want to know about me, do go to my website, do pop onto LinkedIn, and please get in touch. I'm not interested in followers and people, passive readers. I've not got anything big or important to say. I want to get to know people and understand how I can help them.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and you have a great night.
You too, Ben. Thank you.